Ow. So do not ever do that for dramatic effect. I give you that advice at no charge whatsoever. Anyhow, this week I am going to cover a same topic that I've covered the last 2 weeks, and that is on the sort of ongoing discussion about YouTube censorship. But first, I want to say that I'm probably going to quit keto. I know keto's been very good to me, but I recently read a comment from one of my viewers, or maybe not one of my viewers. I guess I get a lot of anti-keto comments, and it's probably people that just come in, leave a comment, and move along. But this one really struck a chord with me. She said, "Keto is real bad for you, duh. Lots of doctors say so." And I don't know how to argue with something so eloquent and cogent. Nah, I think I'll keep doing keto. Though I may actually do a video saying that I'm quitting keto just because those seem to be kind of popular lately. And then I can wait like a month or two and then do a video saying I've come back to keto, kind of do the prodigal son thing. We'll see. I've got a few ideas of potential videos that might also test out this whole is there YouTube censorship thing. But let's get right into that topic, shall we? One of the things that I said last week is, and I meant to follow up on it in the video, but I made a comment about the comment section are kind of like the Wild West. You can say things in the comments that I probably can't or shouldn't say in the actual video itself for multiple reasons. Whether it's that I'm concerned about a YouTube takedown, where they remove the video, or being demonetized. That's a possibility. It depends on what the statement is that you are making that I wouldn't make. Or maybe it's something political, and I try and stay pretty apolitical on this channel just because there's not a lot of upside to upsetting one side or the other, left or right, and it seems like there's pretty much a 50-50 division in this country right now. So I try and stay relatively in between. It's funny because I'll get comments from people accusing me of being a lefty, and I'll get comments from people accusing me of being a righty. And I kind of like to think I'm a bit of an independent thinker. But anyhow, I must be doing it right, or correctly, if I've got people from both sides that get angry at me. And I got comments on this last video that ranged anywhere from thank you for taking a very sensible and level-headed approach to all of this, to people calling me an advocate of censorship and communism, and I'm naive and stupid and all of these things. I'd like to think that I'm probably closer to level-headed, but I want to explain sort of the method to my madness. Sometimes what I will do in these podcasts, even though I have a strong opinion, it's one of those ones that I feel maybe it's better left unsaid. Maybe it's better if I just sort of dance around that topic a little bit, kind of dip my toe in the pool a smidge, and then let you be my voice in the comments. Let you say the things that perhaps I would like to say. And there's no real repercussions for any of you, so you're pretty much free to do that. Now, I'll put a little asterisk next to that and come back to that in a second. Actually, I'll talk about it right now. It's possible that you may say something that gets flagged by YouTube. And generally, there's sort of two tiers for that. One tier is you may make a comment and then YouTube will defer to me as to whether I allow it or not. It goes into this little tab on my YouTube content creator board called Held for Review. I had to think about it for a second. So Held for Review, and I can go in, and generally it's weird stuff that's, and by weird I don't mean weird, it's weird that they wound up in that particular bucket because it's usually something relatively benign. Oftentimes, though, with exclamation points. I don't know if that's a trigger, like there's a certain number of exclamation points and then suddenly YouTube thinks you're yelling or something, I don't know. But 9 times out of 10, unless it's spam or something that's racist or just way crazy, I'll just approve it. Now, the next sort of thing that happens is when people make comments, you may have noticed, maybe you have made a comment that is you have an especially strong position about YouTube censorship or about healthcare or about politics or something like that. And anytime anybody has a comment like that, I make a decision whether or not to reply, whether or not to give it a heart, or whether to just kind of let it slide. And most of the time, I choose to let it slide. My litmus test sort of is this something that I would bring up? Is this a statement that I would make in my workplace? You know, if I were still at GE or, you know, working at a grocery store or wherever it is this a statement that I would make? And usually I try and avoid those sort of statements or making those sort of statements because YouTube is my workplace. This is how I pay my mortgage. So I do need to be a bit more careful than all of you need to be in the comments. And I do get comments sometimes from people who are upset that I didn't take a stronger stand on a topic. You know, they'll say something like, grow a pair and say what, you know, you really feel about YouTube or Google or censorship or healthcare or whatever it is. Or, you know, you should quit YouTube and get onto Rumble. I'll talk about that a little bit later. And I just think, you know, that's very easy to say when this isn't your full-time job. And it is my full-time job. So I do need to be a little bit more pragmatic and a little bit more reserved with some of my positions. But like I say, I will let you say pretty much whatever you want in my comments. But at least now you know why you may not receive necessarily a reply or a heart. It doesn't mean that I disagree with you. It doesn't mean that I agree with you. It just means I'm going to leave that one alone. Now, I talked a moment ago about YouTube and what they might do in terms of your comments. So that first tier is giving me the decision whether or not to let that comment be published. I do believe that YouTube does delete some comments. And it's just a belief from some of the things that I've witnessed. There have been occurrences where people have left a comment and I'm replying to the comment and I hit send. I think that's what you hit when you're done, or reply, or whatever button you hit when you're ready. And the original comment is gone, which means then my comment was gone. And I don't know if this is because YouTube deleted the comment or perhaps the viewer typed that comment in the middle of a podcast, and as we got further into the podcast and perhaps I clarified my position more, he or she decided to delete that comment. I don't know. I know sometimes people will delete their own comments, and I've gotten comments from people who have said that YouTube has deleted their stuff, or they'll type something and it'll disappear. Interestingly, I did see a few of the comments. I can't make like a definitive connection, but there were a couple of comments that were related to Rumble, and those disappeared. So I don't know if that's a word, since it's a competitor of YouTube that's on YouTube's watch list. Maybe just to be safe, don't capitalize the R if you leave a comment about that. And speaking of Rumble, people have said just leave YouTube and go to Rumble. That's not financially viable at this point. If you get out and you look at Rumble and you look at their audience, you look at their views, it's not a viable platform from a financial standpoint, but it is a viable platform as a backup to YouTube. And as a result, I have started putting copies of my videos out on Rumble as well. YouTube is still kind of my home base for right now, at least. But it's good to know that there is another place out there, and it's giving me a chance to kind of look at some of my older videos as well. I'm going through the list alphabetically, and this is going to take a while because I have over 200 cooking videos. So whenever I get complaints from people, especially newer people to this channel, saying, you know, why are you doing these podcasts and product reviews? You should do more cooking videos. I've got over 200 out there. I suspect that there's not a lot of people that have seen every single one of them, but I'm uploading to Rumble in alphabetical order. So it's kind of fun. I'm seeing a lot of older videos, and I just got to see. So Chaffle, we're into the Chaffles now. One of the things, though, that's interesting, and I don't know if it's because I've been doing so many uploads sequentially on Rumble, but a number of them aren't getting monetized. They're falling into this bucket called rumbling, which means like they need to review it and decide if there's any value to that video. So, I don't know. Things are still sort of up in the air for me in terms of Rumble. At least I've got all of my numeric videos and everything that starts with an A or a B up there currently. So to keep going with this topic a little bit, and I know I'm going to get some passionate responses in the comments, the question being, is YouTube censoring? And I think that kind of depends on how broad of a net you cast when you talk about censorship. Let's say it's Thanksgiving and we're having a Thanksgiving get-together at my house with relatives, and I know that there's some political differences between different family members, so I make the announcement, I set the rule, there will be no talking politics at Thanksgiving dinner. Is that censorship? Now, I know some people like throwing around the whole First Amendment freedom of speech argument, but if you study this a little bit and study the Constitution, that does not apply to private individuals or businesses. So if you are in my house, I can set a rule. I can say what you can and can't talk about. It's my house. It's my right. If I own a business, if I have a private business, I can talk about things, or I can set rules, terms and conditions, things you shouldn't say. I mean, at your job, can you just say whatever you want to say? Probably not. And YouTube is a private business, so they can set terms and conditions and rules about what can and can't be said. Furthermore, I, on my channel, can also set sort of terms and conditions for posting. And in this way, I kind of look at the metaphor of like an apartment building. You've got the apartment leasing company, the owners of the apartment, they can set rules. You sign a contract when you become a lessee saying, I will do these things, I won't do these things. I know some say you can't put a political sign up in your window. Well, if that's one of their rules, that's one of their rules. That's a condition of living there. Furthermore, I, as the apartment lessee, can set rules for anybody that comes over, like no talking politics or no cooking Brussels sprouts. We are both within our rights to do this. If somebody chooses not to abide by those terms, they can get a different apartment. They can go to a different apartment. They can get a different friend. That is completely their right. And I think the point that we are at right now, or at least the point I am at right now in terms of this discussion about health topics being censored, especially keto, is how heavy-handed does YouTube decide to get? Do they decide that keto is dangerous? Do they decide to shut us down? My hope is that they don't. But I'm not going to go into a full frontal attack on YouTube. Now that may sound passive, but I used to teach change management. This is one of the classes I used to teach as a corporate trainer. And one of the things that you learn about change is you're never going to accomplish anything by going head on, unless you have way, way, way more power than the other person, in which case you can make them compliant. But they will only remain compliant as long as there is a threat in place, a threat of either force or punishment, or that you're going to take away something from them. So, and yeah, in a way, I guess YouTube is in that position, but we are not. So instead, we need to think more about how do we make change from inside. And I talked about this last week. Part of it is just the relatively simple act of watching keto videos, clicking the thumbs up, leaving a comment, hitting share, watching multiple keto videos in a row so it shows retention. I mean, I talked about YouTube in the business of making money, and some people argued that's not the case, that they've got a global agenda and that's what they're all about. I tend to go by what Mr. Beast, who I think is the #1 YouTuber, he's in the top couple, and what he has said is YouTube wants you to keep watching YouTube. They want you to watch a video, then watch another video, then watch another video. That's what YouTube wants. And given that he is probably one of the top couple successful YouTubers, I think he knows a little bit about what he's talking about. But back to change management and another metaphor. If you think about when the police are chasing a speeder, it's a high-speed chase. They never get up like sideways with them and try and smash them like that. They do what's called the pit maneuver. They just get right up close to the bumper and a little tap. And that causes the car to spin out. Far less aggressive, far more effective. And I like to look at our role as keto content creators and keto viewers similar to that. Getting all up into anybody's face, whether that's YouTube or Facebook or Google or friends or coworkers who may be opposed to keto, and being argumentative with them isn't the way to go. The way to go, and I say this countless times, is by being an example ourselves. Being an example of just how good it feels and how healthy and youthful we look when we're on keto. I have had so many viewers comment that people think that they are 20 years younger than what they are, and they credit it all to keto. Now, I'm not making a medical claim there. I'm just saying that is what some people feel. And certainly at 55 years old, I feel better than I have in the last 25 years. I feel better and I look better than I did when I was 30. So I think by doing this and by being there for people when eventually they decide they're tired of feeling sick, they're tired of being achy, they're tired of being overweight, we can then say, hey, guess what? I've been doing this keto thing and here's how it worked for me. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how I believe we grow keto, we grow the awareness of keto, and eventually we become a force that is hard to ignore and hard to put down. But my approach is going to be continue to be pragmatic, continue to be open-eyed as I watch this situation unfold. And should it wind up being as dire as some of you think it will be, or maybe even is already, then I've got a backup plan. But otherwise, what I will do is I'll continue to follow YouTube's terms and policy regarding what I can and cannot say, and I will say the things that I say in such a way that it doesn't run afoul of those policies, yet still gets my message across. Now, I will say that there are going to be some videos coming up from me that might sort of poke a little bit at the YouTube policy in terms of the content and health and what I feel are some of the biggest myths either about keto or about healthcare in general. And I'm going to do these because one, they are opinions that I hold, and I'm suspecting opinions you hold as well, but it will give me a chance to start to test just how serious this may be in terms of, the anti-keto bent on YouTube. The other thing I thought about doing is, and this might be dangerous, but I'm still thinking about doing it, is creating a vegan video saying I'm quitting keto, I'm going vegan, and then make a bunch of outrageous claims about being vegan. Now, I'm not doing this as an anti-vegan thing, because I know there are some vegan keto people, but to test to see if I say some things that are patently false about being vegan and claim them to be factual, will YouTube shut that video down? I think that would be an interesting test. I don't know, maybe one of you will beat me to it because I've got kind of a full schedule here coming up, but I'm thinking about doing that. It would be interesting to see what happens. But I think I have kicked this horse quite a bit now, this whole censorship thing, and that's probably going to be it, not just for this video, but at least for this topic for a while. As always, I thank you for your time, I thank you for your comments, I thank you for your engagement on this channel, and most of all, thanks for watching.